Hi, everybody, and welcome to Signature West Podcast. I'm your host, Sam West from Palm Springs, California. As you know, I'm a seasoned real estate agent since 1991, and I bring you the podcast to bring you inspiring stories. Today's no exception. If you want to find out more, go to www.samwest.co. My guest today is Matt Naylor. He is the president of an organization here called, in the Coachella Valley, called Well in the Desert. Well in the Desert was founded in 1996, and they serve over 80,000 meals a year. That's just a little bit of what they do, just a little bit. But we're going to find out more from Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hi,
Good morning.
thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for the short notice reply, by the way. I'm very grateful that you said yes. Um, and it honestly does not do you justice to just introduce you as such, in my opinion. There's a lot, there's a lot.
We're a
Uh,
series.
yes. This is episode number one, people. Yeah. To be continued. Netflix.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you were born in LA and you grew up in Utah and you came back to California. And I guess as a child, you loved music. Um, any instrument that comes to you as a favorite?
Well, I played the violin and played the piano a lot. That was my main focus, but I could pretty much play a lot of string instruments, you know, ukulele, the Jew's harp, which a lot of people aren't familiar with, um, a little bit of the accordion and just whatever I could get. But the piano was where I got my venting out as a child.
Where did you learn?
I always played. I played since I was a little kid.
Right.
And then I did take lessons later on from a professor at the University of Utah later on in my young adult life. But I had teachers throughout my childhood for both piano and violin.
You still play, I understand. I
I
think
still
you
play.
still play. It kind of saves you still, right? Saves the day.
Yeah, it's what I do. I
That's what
play
you do.
my piano and the
All right.
keyboard often, so every day pretty much.
We're gonna get into that a little bit more.
Thanks.
In 1990, after I guess you were in California, you visited a friend in Palm Springs, and that friend was designing custom pools. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, well, he was actually a pool builder. He wasn't really a designer.
Okay.
And so he was building pools and I was working in LA. I was working for a hair care company called Sebastian International. A lot of people are familiar with that brand from back in the day.
Oh yeah.
I worked for the owners and the company in the general and corporate. And so that was kind of fun. And so I just come out to Palm Springs and hang out and I babysit their dogs and it was kind of fun being in Palm Springs. Back then it was really small. I mean, there wasn't what we have today. I'd come in August and there would be nobody here. And we sit in the movie theater, which is where the Camelot Theater, which is the cultural center now. We sit
Right.
there and watch the movies and go to the Dollar Theater over in Cathedral City, and that's what we did in August. And later I've been kind of a little pain in the ass as I worked for other people, and so I kind of got fired from my job in LA, and kind of ended up moving. I worked for one other company on Sunset Boulevard, and then I ended up moving to the desert and sleeping on my friend's couch for a couple of months as I got established here.
Did you kind of get fired or you got fired?
I got fired.
Okay.
Well, I kind of wrote my boss up because she was being a little mean. So instead of her writing me up, I wrote her up to HR, and that was kind of that's what you do.
Love it. I would do the same thing. Yeah. Yeah. And then when you eventually moved to Palm Springs because of that job.
I did. And then I moved to Palm Springs because of that job. And then I worked for a little while at the job. I got to know, was out in the field learning that trade. And then eventually I couldn't work for my friend. Working for family is always kind of fun. And so I actually started my own company after that. And here we are today, um, still doing it strong. But back in the day, actually say in the last 10 years, we were actually building over 100 swimming pools a year. We during COVID is not during COVID, excuse me, during the first recession we had in 2008-9 is just when I was actually the busiest. So we've built since that time, and we now are classify ourselves as designers, but we're also the builder on top of that because it always comes about the design.
There's not much business going on here with pools in the desert, right?
Oh, never.
No.
It's always going to be busy here.
I'm just kidding. You also back to music in 1990. No, I'm sorry. You started what's called the Marquee Academy of Performing Arts in Palm Springs.
That that was around 2012, 13 is when we started that. Yeah, so we rented a building and we actually had a restaurant across the street. It was called Frida's. And so
Yes,
I
yes.
thought it would be convenient if we could just have my things across the street from each other instead of running around town. So when we rented the building, we had a great run there. It was really fun, seeing these kids come in. I was teaching violin lessons, and we had other teachers there, and we had lots of performances there for fun, for fundraising, but also for the students. That was a fun time. As most landlords, they started to increase our rent a lot,
Imagine
and
that.
that was it's going to be almost $10,000 a month, and we said that's just not going to work. That tells you how greedy some of the landlords are in town.
Yeah.
And it sits back vacant today, probably for the same reason.
Right, 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 right. And 10,000 back then was a lot more than today.
Yes.
Um, well, we're very grateful that you've done that because also understand it closed during COVID, correct?
Yeah, so we moved to a smart location and we closed during COVID because, we'd given our time back and forth and, it'd been a lot of years that we put into it. And I think that it was our time. We did our service for the community
Right,
for
right,
quite a while.
right. We're grateful for you. Tell me about Puerto Rico and the coffee.
So,
2013, I believe.
2013, I actually did not know where I was from. I was the president for a while. It's called the American Adoption Congress, where we're legislating for rights of individuals to get their original birth certificates. So we won in New York when Como was the governor, and we've been trying to work on that legislation. We've since closed that organization because of DNA. It's easy to find your roots nowadays of who your biologicals are. So I went to Puerto Rico not knowing anything about Puerto Rico other than West Side Story. I mean, that was like,
So
you know,
why Puerto Rico?
that's what I said. We just put a little pin on the map. It's a friend of mine, my closest friend. We put a pin on the map. We ended up in Puerto Rico, and I'm like, why is everybody speaking to me in Spanish? I don't speak Spanish.
Tell
Why is
me, I
everybody?
get I get that done all the time, and I don't speak Spanish. Yeah, I know,
They're like, why? Who are you? And
I
is your
know.
father? Is your father Rodriguez family that lives in Camoy? Like they're always saying these things to me. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. So on the way home, it happened to be a flight attendant that had lived in Palm Springs, so it's a small world. Um, but I cried all the way home, going, what is
Oh,
up with this place?
why did you cry?
So, because I felt like I was connected to the island. I just felt like it was my home. I just didn't. I didn't.
Before knowing anything.
Before knowing anything. Yeah, I
Wow.
cried all the way home. I'm like, why am I crying about this place? So 9 months later, I go back again with another best friend. Everywhere we go, people are speaking like I belong there and I'm part of the family. And we have these two ladies that were at this plus, it's called La Placita, and it's a place where you drink and you dance, and it's for everybody.
What
And
else do you want out of life?
it's one of my favorite places on earth. And
Right.
and you just go there to have a good time, and people are line dancing and it's lively, and it doesn't matter what economic status you are, poor, rich, everybody goes there. So these two ladies grabbed me by the hand and they said, son, sit down next to me, my son. They call
My
me their son.
son.
They held my hand and said, you're now part of us. And I thought, this is just crazy. Why would they. So I come home from that trip and I'm at a conference for adoptions in San Francisco. And one of our friends said, Matt, have you heard of DNA? You should take a DNA test. I go, what is that? Well, you spin in a tube and you find your results in 6 weeks. So I ordered 3 kits. When I got home, they were there. I spit in all three, waited for the results, and the results came in and it said Cuban, Puerto Rican, and white. So I was a mix. So my ancestry came from Cuba and Puerto Rico both. So kind of following that lines that I went down again thinking I needed to have a condo by the beach because I loved it so much and wanted to learn my ancestry. So I was at the beach and I was in the going around and then I went to the rainforest and I felt these tinglings all over my body like I was supposed to be there. So I came home from that trip. I was with my nephew and went online looking for the exact place and this coffee farm appeared. And so I go, what is this? why am I never had a cup of coffee at that time. I've never had drinking coffee in my life. It just, I never have. It was never my thing. I'd never even tasted coffee other than coffee ice cream and coffee candies from Canada.
And how old were you then?
Oh, geez, this was like my 40s.
Okay.
Yes. Hmm. So I then called the realtor and was talking to him for like an hour. And he says, "You need to come see this property." I go, I just came back from there. And he says, "No, you need to come back. You need to, you need to come back." So I got on a plane and went back. Went to see the property, started to cry. It felt like it was home. Um, Knowing the fact that I had some roots there of some sort, by the time I landed in Palm Springs, they had accepted my offer.
But what was your plan with getting a place in Puerto Rico? What was the intention? To move to Puerto Rico?
No, to
To
get the hell out of Palm Springs, just to go and
okay.
relax,
And we
with
get
all,
okay.
just because I love the beach, I love the ocean, I love
Right.
warm water,
Right.
and it's just called to me that it was just like a place to be that was just really fun.
Right.
So I buy this farm, and the month after I closed the farm, through my DNA test, I found my biological father and brother and sister.
Wait, hold on, hold on, hold on. Why did you buy the farm? Was
Well,
it
I
for
didn't know, it just felt right. So
my goodness, you do act on your
it
feelings.
felt right. So I did not realize that how big the farm was because it was abandoned, and so the roads weren't plowed. I had no idea what I was buying. You couldn't go any more than like,
So you just
you
said,
know,
why not? Let's just do this.
it felt right. Yeah,
Do you always
and
live, do you live like do you live your life in general in that kind of rhythm?
yes,
Okay.
I just go with the flow.
Okay.
So the farm is 250 acres, so it
She's
wasn't small. But
oh.
I didn't really know it was 250 acres. I didn't really know it was that big because the paperwork was wrong. I didn't realize it until I'd actually started working on it and started plowing roads. Then I went, "Holy shit, this place is huge." I mean, it's the side of a mountain. So mhm.
How does someone buy a farm of that scale without any experiences or any kind of background and be as calm about it as you are just telling the story?
Because you're not Matt, so I'm crazy. So I buy this farm, and the month after I closed on the farm, that's when I found my biological family. But what happened was after I started doing research, I found that three sets of grandparents were coffee farmers in the same area as my farm.
Jesus.
My grandfather passed away in a town that I frequent often, which is the second largest town on the island called Ponce. And I am there all the time. It's 40 minutes from my house. So it's like my blood called to me to be there.
That's so crazy.
And it's so great to know the fact that when I go there, my ancestry is all around me,
You're right.
and I drink coffee now. I mean, that's the biggest part. Yeah, straight. I don't drink it with any tequila or alcohol. I drink coffee straight. Drink it black.
You went from nothing to all.
Yes, because that's what you do.
That's what you do. God, I love you.
So the farm is really special. I encourage people to come and see it, to learn about coffee, because a lot of times we drink coffee and we don't know
Oh yeah.
what's in it.
Yeah.
We have no idea how it's grown, and people go
Yeah.
this roast, that roast. They don't know where the beans grown. So it's interesting. Coffee connoisseurs don't really know where coffee's grown. So it's been amazing. I have three dogs. Um, it's just a place where you can go and relax, and you have a view of the ocean. And it's a place now that I call home, and hopefully everybody that goes there can call it their home as well.
But how did you navigate the learning process of something that you've had zero knowledge of, like nothing? Did
So
you
it's
read a
so
manual? Did you YouTube it? Did you?
a great question, and I actually have had teachers. So part of the Farm Services of America and part of growing coffee on the island is that they have teachers that come. So I have a neighbor who I've become really close friends with, who is my teacher. He works for the group that teaches farmers how to grow coffee. He brings students over and shows them. He planted some coffee for me, but we're actually harvesting this year, which is great. He teaches them how to plant, how you plant them, the way you lay them out. We streamline them out to make sure we plant them in the right way for natural irrigation, and also trying to get away with not using pesticides, which we use very little of. Um, so for the last several years, I've had these every time I'm there on the island, I have a class.
And are you enjoying the learning process? Something that you didn't think you would ever learn or enjoy doing?
To me, it's amazing because so many people have these coffee shops and they're talking about where they're buying their beans
Right,
from,
right, right.
and I'm like, they're so, I love them to death, but the industry is so full of shit. They have no clue. You know, you need to come to a real coffee farm that doesn't use pesticides and quit saying it's, we buy from this family, we buy
Right,
from that family.
right.
It is just not true. In fact, I went to a coffee conference in Portland a few years back, and there was this class about growing organic coffee. So I asked some questions. They couldn't answer the questions. They had no clue. A lot of times, it's amazing. One of the second largest consumption of something that we drink that most people know little about.
And most people are addicted to.
And they're addicted and they have no clue.
Yeah,
So when you have that acid reflex, you know, when you drink too much coffee, which a lot of people have, that means that means you don't have really good beans.
it was bad.
So like the coffee we're growing now is so smooth that you want to drink more because there's no acid reflex or a second nature, something that happens because you're drinking the most purest coffee that you can get. And that's something I've learned, and I now realize what we have.
I guess my the wow factor in this is that here's somebody. This is not music. You've loved music since you were a kid. So if this was music, you would be like, it's in my
Yes.
blood. But this was you never drank coffee. You probably don't even know what the taste is that you like or
I
dislike or the
didn't.
smell. And here you go, you dive into this thing and you end up enjoying it. And thank God for you, it's working out great. And you went in so blindfolded. This is um, the wow factor of the story for me that you went straight for something that wasn't even in your background in any shape or form.
Well, I think one of the things in life that we forget is that we forget to sit and listen. We have so much going on and there's so much noise around us every single day, whether it's the news, whether it's the administration, whether it's this or that, or it's so much noise. And I think sometimes we forget that we need to stop and think and listen to ourselves. Because when we listen to ourselves, we have those answers. So we need to, like, you know how they say this, stop and smell the roses. It's kind of like that saying is that take a minute and take a break and get off your phone, get off your computer, get off the TV, and just think about things. And I think that when you do that, you find the answers to what you need to do next when you're looking for something. I was looking
But
for what? Hmm?
you were not looking for anything at the time. You were not even looking for coffee.
I
You were not
wasn't. I was kind of looking. I wasn't necessarily looking for anything other than I needed a place that was peaceful to me, where I could
right,
just run away to.
right.
So I kind of way I kind of was. I was kind of looking for this sanctuary, and I actually have it there. So everybody that knows me is I'm a pain in the ass until I get there. After a week being there, I'm back to like, who is this person? Do we know him?
Right.
Because you get so relaxed because you're in your element where you can feel life and think.
I agree. Now let's switch back to Palm Springs.
Yes.
In 2013, a woman named Arlene Rosenthal, uh, which I think she's no longer here. God bless her. Um, she was a friend of yours, and she asked you to meet.
Well, I actually didn't know her at the time. She says, "Can you call me up?" And she says, "Will you have lunch for me with me?" I said, "Sure." So we sat down at the Thai Smile,
In Palm
and we
Springs.
in Palm Springs, and we had our favorite. She was very picky what she ate, that's for sure. So we had our lunch there, and we had run in the same circles, but we didn't really know each other. It was just kind of crazy, and we just hit it off. We're both Geminis, and we just hit it off through music. Arlene loved music. She has started um, an opera nonprofit, and we did opera events with later on in our friendship. We did all kinds of events related to music, and because of her, she was president of Well in the Desert and had been doing it for so long. She asked me to come and see what they do and to join the board, and that's the history from there. And I talked to her pretty much every day after that time until she passed away.
Why do you think she asked you out for lunch?
I think that she was looking for friendship. She didn't care for her partner at the time, and her life partner. And I think that she was just looking for maybe a little on the lonely side.
You don't think it had nothing to do with the fact that she might have known about your background and she wanted to join forces with regard
You
to
know,
Well in the Desert?
I don't know about that. It could be looking back, but she just needed a companion to visit with and to talk
Interesting.
with, and our friendship was so strong in that regard that um, there was no question after that point in time of having that lunch that we were meant to know each other.
How long went from that lunch till she asked you to come on board?
I was on the board a few months after that.
Okay. And she passed away in 2023,
She
just a couple of
did.
years ago. Yeah.
Hmm. I was with her a few hours before she passed, so I was really with her to the end, and
Oh, wow.
and so we would have these talks, at nighttime, and she would be exhausted, and I would kind of wonder why she was so exhausted because I mean I'm new to the board, and I'm trying to figure this out. Now that I'm in her position that she was in, I understand why she was exhausted, and that's the people that need us that have nowhere else to go, have nowhere else for food, and have no options on the table. And so that feeling that she had, I'm glad she was a mentor because the feelings that she taught me about people on the street and what you do, I don't know if I could have done it now without knowing the background of from her life of being in that position.
It's a big shoulder. It's a big weight to carry, isn't it?
It really is. Palm Springs is a beautiful city. We love it here. Obviously, I've been here for a long time. But we forget that if you're not popular or if you're not rich, then you're going to be thrown to the street. And yes, I will get political. And yes, I stand up to our city council. I think they are failures when it comes to homelessness. And they won't give me a dime to help, but we're the ones that feed so many people. And they want to put homeless into one category, and that you just can, and that's where the failure is. There are individuals like you and me that some like coffee, some don't like coffee, some like music, some don't like music. There are individuals, and we forget that, and so that fight is really hard to educate people and on that subject.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. That was my next topic. And you have a very specific point of view, which I really, really appreciate. I'm kind of very on the same page, and I very much often look at like I'm the outsider, because I do have a very soft spot, maybe it's from another lifetime regarding homelessness. That's a different conversation. You wrote or you said every person on the street is an individual and they have individual needs. Until we as a society find out what those needs are, we're not going to solve the problem. Just giving them a house is not the answer. And I would add, not enough. So I want you to now dig in and give me your understanding of the problem and your point of view on homelessness. From your point of view, just as it stands in this culture that we're in now. Obviously, you probably witnessed it in LA, where you came from, and
Mhm.
now here. And I also want to add that there are 352 new homelessness since in Palm Springs since January of 2025.
We're almost at 500.
Sorry, my bad. Um, yeah, the
That was an
numbers.
old post.
Sorry. I'm catching up. So take it from here. Feel free to elaborate as much as you want about the issue and what you see is really the core of the problem.
Well, this has touched me so much that I'm actually writing a book right now, on homeless on this subject because it's a way for me to express myself, and that's where you got that quote from, was from one of the chapters in the book.
Oh,
So I'm glad you said that. So you know, the problem is that it doesn't matter if you're in Palm Springs or LA or if you're in Utah, because they are all not treating homeless like they should and understanding the plight of homelessness. So we're putting them in one category. And so I think that's the biggest problem that we have is that we put them in a category and then we give money. Like Palm Springs has spent over $60 million in homelessness. That's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And to show you, and it's not working. The navigation center they spent $40 million is not working. So then they have meetings and upon meetings, and now they're having a public meeting next week with one of our council members
About the
and the
meeting.
police department. Or did they
About the
already have it?
meeting. Yeah.
Okay. And another meeting, and they're not understanding. And the sad thing is those of us like the well in the desert that have boots on the ground, we know the answers. They want to act like, oh, you know it all. No, well, we actually do know the answers, and they will never ask us for what we think needs to happen. They'll never bring us. They'll pretend they're bringing us into the conversation, then shut us out of the conversation.
Well, here, do you want to do it? Tell us now. What are the answers?
Well, first of all, you've got to build relationships of trust with anybody you're trying to work with. And so when you serve food that's food gets you get food poisoning from and you're treated like a wild animal, you're never going to get anywhere. And one thing that Well in the Desert I've learned, and this is true. The question is you say, do you know why there's very few riots in prisons? It's because they serve really good food. It's the same thing for Well in the Desert. We have two chefs and our food is better than any lunch spot in Palm Springs. Love Tyler's. It's even better than Tyler's. Okay. So, it is really, really good. And so when you're eating these nutritious meals, we used to have the police come to us, you know, many times during the week. In the month, probably 30. They used to come for problems with whatever. And since we have changed our food, which is the first of this year, we haven't seen the police department. Maybe a couple times because we've called them for a few emergencies. But other than that, we haven't seen them. And we are able to take people and say, hey, do you want to go to this center? Do you want to go to that center? We're able to take them wherever we want them to go, but we don't have the resources of places to take them.
And which police department are you dealing with?
Well, Palm Springs,
Palm Springs. Okay.
Palm
Yes,
Springs Police Department, we have a lot of great officers there. Our police chief does not tell the truth. And, a couple of years back, I think it was last year, I sent a warning to everybody in our city saying we're having more people come to town. We need to talk about this. And they ignored it. Now all of a sudden they post on their Facebook page, oh, we're having people come from out of town. Surprise. They don't want to listen. And I don't know why. And I kind of think the answer is this. We're living in a resort town and they don't want to think we have problems here.
right.
Right.
Right. Downtown is the only focal point on making it pretty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they don't want to listen and know the truth, but they know the truth. And so they try to put out these numbers. For example, we had our police chief that said that he had arrested 1,000 homeless people. But yet then the city turns around and said we only have 87 homeless people on the street. Do those numbers add up? Let's call a spade a spade. The numbers don't add up. And so what's infuriating is it makes my job harder because I'm seeing the influx of that almost 500 new people we've seen this year. I know where they come from. I know why they're here. And they don't want to listen to why they're here. And I think that's the hardest part is that they don't want to listen to anything that we have to say. And we're part of the solution.
So you mentioned understanding who we're dealing with. So that's one way to look at it. What else would you like to tell them besides listening to understanding who you're dealing with as far as the client?
We have to have the services that are able to accommodate them. And
Right.
we don't. I mean, we have like at the navigation center, they have a one bag policy. If you have one bag, you're kicked out.
That's
This
something
past
I heard. Yeah, that's one of the policies, and I want to talk about that as well. Yeah. Go ahead. Who thinks of these things, and why are we being so punishing people for having a bag and a half?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter what contract the city gives out, the city's in charge of that contract.
Okay.
And so it goes back down to the city and who refuses to help me and it refuses to acknowledge me on any level because they know that I'm right and they don't want to admit that they're wrong. They don't want to admit that spending $40 million in a center that's not working that's not great news. Jeffrey Bernstein's running for office again, touting the navigation center. Are you sure you really want to tout the navigation center? Are you sure you want to do that when there's so many problems? I wouldn't do that if I was running for office. But they have these policies that don't work and they're hurting so many people. And it doesn't make sense to me of why they can't have a meeting to discuss true policies that will truly make a difference. We're here. I've said to everybody in our city, look, I'm here to help you, not hurt you. I'm here to give you the solutions, and it can be your idea. I don't need any pat on the back. Let it be your idea. But let's get our friends off the street. They don't care to answer me.
To give credit where credit is due, and to I know we're talking about the Valley and Palm Springs, but we also, like in LA, for example, they just found out the $40 million, I believe the number was, where it was meant to go for the homelessness, and there was a fraud thing, and it was given going the wrong way. And here you go with that story in LA, and I'm not surprised. I knew that was coming. So here is another group of politician, leader, adults in the room, whatever you want to call them. They're doing just as bad as the adults in the room here. So I don't know if it's a Coachella Valley thing, or if it
It is
just,
not.
it's not. Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you.
No, we're
It's
not
not.
special. We're not special when it comes to that. I
Right.
mean,
Okay. Okay.
I asked for a records request for the building of Martha's Village and Kitchen Navigation Center, and they gave me one page that had nothing on it.
So, so what do you think? If it's not a Coachella Valley thing, why are we repeating the beating the same horse, expected to stand up?
I think politicians are politicians, and until you get the politician out of it,
Oh,
it's
no.
always going to be that way. So it
Uh,
doesn't matter what city. So again, we can't just blame our council. They're all pretty much the same. Look, a council member up in excuse me, the high desert, he said, let's just give them all fentanyl. I'll get rid of all of them.
he did
I
not.
mean, he did. Yeah, it's all published. And, so it's in Bakersfield. So when you looked at what these politicians state, and, Governor Newsom did admit this last year, thankfully, that it wasn't working,
No,
you know,
not anybody. A 2-year-old would tell you that.
but
Yeah.
he's the first politician to actually admit it wasn't working.
Oh, well, congrats.
Las Vegas, they said it wasn't working, and they all this money they spent because they're not getting the point. The money's going to the wrong people. So the money's going to their friends that are in the business. Let's just call that what it is, because it is. Whether no matter if it's Puerto Rico where you have to pay politicians to get what you want, or you're here having to figure this pay to play. Look, the navigation center, each one of those pots costs $485,000. You tell me how that happens. When you look at those type of money being spent, it has to be about the money. It couldn't be any other way. I just don't.
Yeah,
It's
it's all the
about
money.
it's
Yeah.
about the money. The navigation center spent $650,000 this year, with $40,000 being on chips and snacks. I mean, really?
Who's in accounting?
I'm just like, really? And it's not calling them out to go after
No,
them.
no, no. I totally get it. No, I totally get
It's
it.
calling out because they don't want to listen, and I'm gonna say it. They're stupid. They don't get it. And when you have this shit show, and that's what my language is because I see what happens every day. I don't get paid for well in the desert. I want to make that very clear. I don't get a dime for well in the desert. This is a voluntary position, so I have no skin in the game to make money off of this. I'm the only one that is not paid in the entire valley when it comes to homelessness. And when I carry that weight, of course, it becomes burdensome in the way that because they don't want to help, but they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear what's really happening. And that's what really bothers me more than anything. These are people living on the street. We take of our one friend that had trauma when she was younger. She's got 3 plastic babies. She lives over by Del Taco every night. You know, she's so funny. She's better than any any comedian I've seen for a long time, and she is that funny. They have personalities. They laugh. They cry just like you and me. We celebrate their birthdays even.
Do you ever get discouraged from all this madness?
Oh, absolutely.
And
You
what do you
bet.
do?
But
What do you do?
I, I go to the piano. I get
Oh,
discouraged. I'll just go play the piano, which really
oh,
helps me out. Because the sad thing is it shouldn't be this way. We shouldn't have this problem in our society. It's so easy to solve, but they're so hell bent in saying we're right. It's just disgusting to
I
me.
just want to say this also. I just remembered there were two different people, homeless people, that got into the system. And I spoke to two of them when they relapsed, and I asked them, why didn't you stick it out? And it was the same answer from two of them. And the answer was, wherever the housing they went into, one of the requirements is you like had to go to church.
Right,
I'm not against going to church. I'm not against going to a
right.
temple. I'm not against any of that. But that person felt, I don't want to go to church. But if I don't go to church, you're gonna throw me out, which is what ended up happening. So they don't follow, like you said, the one bag rule. if it's a bag and a half, you're out. So it's back to understanding and making, yes, I see what they're trying to do to make you more spiritual or more connected to the divine. And I get all that. But the implementation, again, I just
Well,
twice I heard from the same person, same people.
especially with their animals too. A lot of times in those places, their animals can't come.
Well, that's a whole different conversation. That's
It,
another, yeah,
it is. We
yeah.
had to take one lady. She didn't have a choice. We took her to the place where they did have to go to church every day, and she had to get rid of her animals. And I believe that's discriminatory. I understand why they do it, but there should be more places than that also. There's more than one place. Um,
Yeah.
but it is a shit show in those, and excuse my language, because it just really is. No one wants to talk to each other about these places like this. Some people, if they don't going in, that's the only place, they'll just suck it up and go to church. They don't want to go to church.
No, the two that I'm referring to, literally, one of them, and he's been on the street for a very long time. He decided to go back because that was a better choice, a better uh,
Yeah.
dignifying place. That he did not feel that you got to put me in this mental confinement to that person. It is, and I get it. So there's a dance, there's a middle ground should be between. Okay, do something good, maybe go volunteer. I'm not here to implement the program because obviously that's not what my boss is for. Um, but I get it. And I also want to say that we're talking about one of the wealthiest cities in the nation that we live in. We're not talking about Nebraska here. We're not talking
Right.
about, Bakersfield, California. Just the people that know. Sometimes we forget that. And it's not by all means why I live here, but it's noted that it is, and therefore we have these stories that we have to encounter. And people might think, what's the number now? You said it went up to what in Palm Springs?
We've had almost, well, we have, by the end of the year, we'll have close to 500 new homeless that have
So
come through Palm
that's a
Springs.
total of uh, 800, oh, close to 1,000.
Yeah, so we
Yeah,
have
close
around
to,
550 that are on the streets
yeah.
today.
And nothing becomes suddenly. Suddenly we have 50,000 homelessness. It doesn't wake up one day and you say, okay, yeah, oh my God, where did they come from? It doesn't work out that way. I
But,
grew up in I
but
grew up in LA, and I witnessed it from one to two to thousands. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, one of the things that's important is, I've had the opportunity to sit down and have lunch with each one of the clients that come to see us, whether they're new to town or whether they've been here for a while. We have a lot that have been here for a while. And to hear their stories, I mean, it would break you. We have I don't want to say names, we have one of our trans friends on the streets that I'm really close with. And she is such an incredible human being. I mean, she got mixed up with the wrong people. And, she's in her 60s. And I stopped her on Ramon the other day and Indian saying hi to her, and everybody thought I was picking up a prostitute. It was hysterical. She was waving to me, "Hey man, how are you today?" It was so cute. She's so cute. When I sit down and I hear their stories and I record them, that's what would change the dramatic thing, and it's just a dynamic thing here. If we could sit and listen to what those stories are, and when I was talking about stopping and hearing the noise from our day to day, we need to stop and hear their stories because they would change you as they've changed me. I look back at the stories. There's so many of them, and to hear them cry and laugh about their story of their life and when they were in kindergarten all the way up to. So I always ask, tell me about your life, and they tell me from kindergarten, from what they remember to where they are today. That long stretch, how they ended up on the street. To me, that has been one of the most enlightening things of my life, of knowing about individuals and not grouping people into this one class. And maybe someday you interview a few. They would love to
I would
speak.
love to. I would love to.
Their stories, my trans friend, her story would make you laugh and cry.
How do you because I have the hardest time with this as I'm getting to you as we speak. How do you detach yourself from this stories that would make your heart break? How do you not get so caught up? And if you do, that I do, how do you detach?
Well, again, I think, I wrote a musical about homelessness, and I think that that's where I detach because it makes me, through music, it heals myself. So, writing music will always help me detach as I'm writing a song about one of them. And I did. I was so emotional one day when Twyla, which was our matriarch with our homeless community. She lived on the street over by a bit of country with her two dogs, and her friend Joe was in the tent behind her. Everybody in this town knew Twyla. Everybody would stop to give her food, give her water, and talk to her because she was fun to talk with. She was a beauty queen when she was in high school. Now she's living on the street, and we would sit and talk for hours. And when she passed away, it really hit home. And so I came home and wrote this song called Off the Street. And those types of things have made me get through knowing the fact that people that hear that song, and it's repetitive for a reason, that you're hearing different voices of a different person saying, I want off the street, in a place to lay their head. And that's really what it's about. I don't completely detach, but it makes me feel good knowing the fact of writing music and sharing it with people that they can relate, that maybe through music we can change the scenario that we have on the street. And I'm hoping our musical will come out again next year, and I'm hoping that that will show. I went more in depth this time of rewriting some things, scenes, to make it a little more humorous and not so deep, but also how we get out of this situation and what got one into the homeless to begin with. Those are the stories that we need to tell instead of grouping it into, oh, they stink, they can't shower. Facebook, I posted the other day, a couple weeks back actually, about a woman that police were harassing, and she was by the Mercedes dealership at the bus stop. I've known her for 3 years. So after they left, I stopped to talk to her and recorded her story. And some community members would say to me, oh, she's not homeless. She just got kicked out of her apartment. No, well, she looks clean. And people forget, a lot of our homeless people, they clean up every single day. They clean up better than I do. I go to work just in a t-shirt as I have on, and a pair of ragged jeans and tennis shoes that are really old. What does a homeless person look like?
But even underneath all that, why is that person find the need to have to go out of his or her way to deminimize an individual they have nothing to do with?
Because they look at, like, I'm criticizing the city over it, and that was what the post was about. And it's like, that's just really not what it is,
Then by all means say, okay, defend the city, but don't deminimize somebody like you. Okay, if that's the case, hooray to your city in a response, but don't deminimize a person you know nothing about.
Right.
Nothing about.
Right. Well, they forget that, we give showers, we
Yeah.
give clean clothes out and every day, and that we have places for individuals to clean up when they want to take showers, and we have people that come and cut hair. And so what is a homeless person supposed to look like? When we're talking about our friend that has the one bag policy over at the navigation center. Wasn't a bag lady have multiple bags? Isn't that where that term came from? I mean, really, right?
And just the idea that I'm supposed to put my entire life in one bag. Can I have a bag and a half from my I don't know, my
Curlers,
whatever?
your
Yeah.
curlers.
Yeah.
If she curls her hair every day.
Matthew, thank you so much for doing this. It's not how I thought it would be in the end, but thank you. I do appreciate you. And keep up the good work. I don't know how you do it, to be honest. But we're all different people and we all made of different fabrics. So thanks to you. Hopefully I meet you in person.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And I'm getting my thoughts together here. And if you're listening and if you're watching, and please share this post and at least, open up your mind just a little bit more, to be a little bit more compassionate. When nobody's asking you to give money or to give your home, just the understanding that you don't need to deminimize anybody else for their misfortune. I think that's just a basic need. On that note, I'll see you next time. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Bye.